G'day everyone, welcome to the How to Halo Reach ODST web series. This is of course tutorial part 8. My name's Andrew DFT, and in today's tutorial we're going to be focusing on the knee section. This is a 2-part build and it's relatively easy. So by the end of today's tutorial you should have something looking like this. A 2-part build that will come together quite nicely and add quite a nice piece to the overall design. So going ahead, it's actually a very simple build, and to rate it I'd give it I reckon a 4 out of 10. It's not 100% easy, but it does have some nice little tricks to give it that 3D perspective and a bit of a better overall design, which will give it that extra bit of difficulty, but nothing you guys haven't dealt in the previous tutorials. So enough talking, let's jump straight into it. Alright, so kicking it off, go ahead and download the templates. We're only using 2 for this build, but we'll start with 1 for now. So cut out these 2 sections that you can see on the screen, and we'll slowly start building it up. So what we're going to do first is transfer over the templates to the foam. Be sure to flip that side panel across so you can have both the left and the right side. You'll need to do that, it's quite important. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and cut out the templates like so. Cut them into the 3 stages as seen. Then we can flip over the side panel and start transferring all the individual segments on, so that way we get these 2 lines and breaking up the 3 stages. Of course, do it on the other side as needed. And then what we're going to do is, annoyingly, masking tape back that template, because we're actually going to cut out with scissors the perimeter guidelines. This is going to create some extra levels on the foam. Once you cut it out, you can go ahead and transfer it onto the EVA just using a standard pen, and you should have that outline looking like that. Nice and clean if you can. If you want wobbly lines, well, you can have wobbly lines. Then what you can go and do is carve out the rest, I keep on saying carve, I mean cut out with scissors the rest of the template to allow this internal design to happen. Once you've got those all laid out, we're going to go ahead, flip over the foam and start cutting into those lines we added earlier. So you're cutting straight down, so you're scoring it, not all the way through, and then coming back in on a 45-degree angle just to bevel out those edges, allowing us to put some hot glue into it and actually allow it to bend and make a nice edge line. Of course, we make these edge lines by doing it this way, so we don't create a seam running through the foam, because this way is a lot cleaner, nicer, and it gives us a better result overall. So once you've managed to glue all those segments together, giving it a nice kind of rounded effect, you should have 2 of them, both on the left and right, looking somewhat like this. Now it does look kind of edgy at this point, but that's the kind of thing we're going for here, and it will come out a lot better once we get past these preliminary stages. Now you can grab your craft knife and you can actually cut through the guideline to really cut out this internal segment. So we should have the outside perimeter and the inside interior, I guess you could say. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those 2, we're just going to glue them back into position, but like we have done on our many tutorial pieces previously, we're going to do it on a different angle, so a different level, so that way this is raised. You can go inside or you can go outside. I preferably like to do it outside. It adds a bit more of a chunkier 3D effect, I guess. Now if you do have these little hangovers that of course just happen from bending the foam, you can just quickly rule it out where it should end and then just cut it off so it's nice and flush. Very easy solution there, nothing that should become difficult. Then what you can do is go ahead and cut out the internal rectangle section so that it's completely cut away and free from the overall design. So once you've done that, we can then go and actually glue it back into position like we just did with the perimeter border, but we're going to glue it on the internal side. So you should have this kind of 3-tiered effect going on. And then you can also score those little lines we've drawn there and then heat them up so that the scored line really sets it apart. Now we can start looking at the middle section. So go ahead, grab this piece and draw a line like you can see on screen. Then you're going to bevel off that edge, because this is going to become the joining spot for the 2 panels into this kind of arch keystone, you could say. So once you've beveled those 2 edges like so, we can then just grab the hot glue gun and slowly glue each side together. It should fit perfectly into position thanks to the templates I have designed personally. Just giving myself a bit of a pat on the back there. Once you've done that, you can heat up the foam a bit more just to make it a bit more malleable, and then you can hot glue these seams together. They should just go in perfectly, and just glue half of it, wait for that to dry, and then glue the other half. So once that is all dry and set, you should have the piece looking rather nice and starting to really come together. So once all of that is done, what you're going to do now is draw a line like you can see on the screen on the bottom section of this, and then you're going to bevel off that edge. That's not important for now, but it will become when we do part 9 for the shin piece. This is where the shin piece will actually slot in, so it's kind of important you do get that beveled edge on there. Now onto the second segment. So grab the template and of course repeat the process that we just did and done in the previous 8 episodes. Cut it out of the paper with the scissors, then transfer it onto the foam. Now you will only need, well, you'll need 2 of course for a left and right leg, but for this purposes I'm doing 1. Once you've cut that out of the foam, you can then cut out the template itself. We're going to just cut off one of the wings because this is all we need to allow us to transfer those guided lines onto the back of the foam, which will of course allow us to find and cut to make that fold line, which is pretty much like we did before. So once you've got those 2 marked out there, before we cut it, we're actually going to transfer the rest of the template on. So you can just grab the remaining template that we have and cut out its perimeter border, and then of course transfer that also onto the foam. Now grab your nice sharp craft blade and cut out those beveled edge segments to allow that fold line to occur. Of course you've done this plenty of times, so me repeating it is just becoming a bit of annoyance for you guys now I guess, but nonetheless I have to tell you just so we can remind ourselves to do it. Then of course put some hot glue into the seams, bend it over, and it should be good to go. So now you can grab your nice sharp craft blade and cut out that perimeter segment, so pretty much exactly like we did in the first stage of this build, and we're going to separate that line, separate that perimeter, and then glue it back into position, but on a different level. Now do it exactly like I've done on the screen. If you were to do it the other way around, it would look a bit strange, so as long as you put one on top of the other, it's all good. Now what you can do is cut out this little template from the very middle, transfer that onto foam, and then go ahead and cut that out of the piece of foam as well. Just to make it a bit more cleaner looking, you can grab that segment and then actually cut it in half, just so it's not as thick and protruding, because this is rather a nice little piece that gets added on here rather than a big sticking out piece of foam, which we really don't want. So now you should have the 2 pieces looking very nice and like this. Now thankfully my template should line it up pretty damn well, so you can just put some hot glue onto the edges and glue it straight into position. If it doesn't fit for you, then just kind of trim it to make sure it does, but either way it shouldn't really be much of a hassle for you guys. It should just work its way in. And that pretty much wraps up. It looks rather nice. It's got all the nice 3D forms and all the layers. If you wanted to add a few more designs, you can do, but that's all up to your own decision. So that's it. Hopefully you guys managed to follow along, and it was relatively easy for you. Now of course when you finish this build, you'll just have it sitting like that. Now of course that probably isn't going to fit your leg quite well. What you are going to need to do is add some inner padding, whether that be another layer of EVA foam on both sides or something else more like a sponge or whatever you usually use for padding. No matter what, it should be able to fit on your leg nice and snug and not need any forms of strapping, just the interior padding itself to hold it in position. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Of course we've got one more tutorial to do. In part 9 we'll focus on the shin and the foot section. Both relatively easy builds like this one, so shouldn't be too hard for you. So good luck guys on building this knee section, and I of course will catch you later.